Okay, welcome back to the channel. Today got our Great Turkish War Skirmish 2. So this is the second game in our Great Turkish War campaign, playing with Pikeman's Lament from Osprey. Great rules, I love these. And so just to recap real quickly, so our Turkish force won last time and pretty much routed the Austrians, even killed off the line infantry, and our Turkish commander here, Orhan Bey, with the blue and orange shield, gained a bunch of experience points. His Tatars took these captives, and they routed the Habsburg force basically. And so he's moved into this village, closer to the main force that's under guard, and he's got his cavalry. They've got a regimental gun, so that's going to be a unit in play that actually fires. His Tatars, again, that count as dragoons. That's the profile I'm using for them. And we've got another gun here that is not in play, but it is an objective. And he's got a unit of Janissaries. Now, the Janissaries are going to be treated... They're going to count as elite shot, but they're going to take a -1 on activation rolls because Janissaries historically didn't like taking orders from the cavalrymen. There was a whole rivalry. So there's going to be a -1 on that. And they're hanging out in the back here guarding the gun because they don't really want to be fighting for this guy, pretty much. And then they've got a unit of provincial shot, and they're protecting the perimeter. Now, our new Austrian commander, because our first one died, he was just a sergeant, unfortunately, died trying to heroically fire down a Ottoman cavalry charge. We have Unterleutnant von Leopold, fresh officer, and he wants to avenge the death of his men. So he's got his personal section of line infantry. He's got some militia shot. We're going to treat them as untrained. And we've got some pikemen, militia pikemen, but no penalties to them. And we've got more line infantry. Coming up the flank, we have some dragoons, just like last time. And then we have some, we're going to call these provincial cavalrymen, or mercenary cavalrymen, I guess. But anyway, going to be treated as galloper cavalry, so we'll see how they stack up against, the Turkish cavalry. And as far as Austrian objectives go, so Orhan Bey, to get 5 honor, is just going to have to defend the village and fight off the Austrians. Now, Unterleutnant von Leopold, of course, he wants to inflict as many casualties as possible in this punitive expedition, but he's going to get 4 honor if he captures the guns by the end of the game, so both guns, and 2 honor as a bonus objective to save the captives. Now, the Tatars are going to try, depending on how things go, the Tatars might try and bug out and get off the table. So if they get the captives off the table, they will, that objective is going to be lost to the Austrians. I just gave them 2 experience points for this objective because I didn't want the numbers getting too crazy. So that's our scenario, and let's get going. And Austrians are attacking, so we'll go ahead and start and see what happens. Okay, so our Austrian turn 1, pretty uneventful. Our dragoons and our cavalry just were able to move to get into position, and then on the other side of the table, our militia shot tried to activate to shoot, but they did not succeed. So Austrian turn 1 is over. And then I forgot to mention I had to roll for the Unterleutnant von Leopold's officer trait, and he has brave, which is actually really good. So he gives a +2 morale bonus instead of just +1. So that's really nice and really thematic, and that was totally random from the dice. So Gonna shift over to the Ottomans and we'll see what they do. Okay, Ottoman turn 1, totally uneventful. Our militia, our provincial musketeers went to fire into the advancing line infantry, bungled their activation, and because they're over 12 inches away from the commander, they got a 6 and they needed a 7 to activate, but nothing happened, so now we're back to the Austrians. And just as a side note, this is why I like these rules, especially for solo gaming, because, you know, the random activation really, you know, it can really change the course of the game, and you know, it really forces you to play both sides because you don't know what'll happen, which I think is pretty important for solo gaming. But anyway, let's go back to the Austrians. Okay, so again, another kind of uneventful turn. Our Habsburg detachment, they just all advanced to try and get stuck in, and didn't do any shooting. And then our cavalry over here just advanced up. Dragoons got into position. Hopefully they're going to be able to take some shots on their next turn. And then our gallopers also try to get in position. Maybe they can try and sweep in. So I think for our Ottomans, Orhan Bey's squadron of cavalry is going to try and shift into position and attack. Okay, so our Ottoman cavalry they had one base removed. They took 2 casualties from the Austrian cavalrymen. So pikemen's men with galloper cavalry, they have to make an additional attack if they win a melee, so they did. Advanced up, and then they fought another melee. Austrians took more casualties, and then but inflicted 1 more casualty, and so they had to fall back again. And so that's our cavalry action on this side of the table, and we'll see who activates next. I think our musketeers are going to activate. Now, one thing I did forget is gallopers can roll to activate to countercharge. I forgot until I was rolling for the melee, and I did it anyway just to see what would happen. They didn't activate, so no big deal. But I think, actually, okay. Technically, these 2 units shouldn't be so close together, so you gotta have 3-inch distance, but it's okay. We're not, you know, we're not gonna. Expedite Wargaming is not a rules lawyering channel, you know, especially with something supposed to be kind of thematic like this. Anyway, okay, let's see what the musketeers over at the entrance to the town do. So they're going to roll to shoot into the line infantry. And they rolled a 3. They do not activate, so it's back to our Austrian detachment. Okay, so our line infantry hitting on 5s inflicted 3 casualties onto our Ottoman provincial musketeers. And they will have to do a morale check to see if they retreat. Okay, so our Ottoman musketeers failed their morale check, but got greater than 0, so they had to retreat, and they are now wavering, so I'll use this white smoke to represent that. So they're a wavering unit, so next turn they're going to have to roll to see if they can recover from that. And that was from our lieutenant's unit, so going to see what the rest of the Austrians are able to do. Alright, so the militia musketeers advanced up, and their shot did as well. And this other unit of line infantry, I think, were poorly deployed. I don't know, because there's really nowhere to move into this fence. Is the way I have it set up. It's kind of a choke point, but not sure what they're going to do. And then on the other side, we've got our dragoons that I wanted to have them do a skirmish move where they're going to fire and then fade back, but only got a 3, so no activation there, and we're going to go back to the Ottomans now. Alright, so the Tatars decided to ride up and shoot into the Dragoons, but they only managed to land 1 hit out of all of them, and that wasn't enough to break the stamina and inflict a casualty. So they just did the half move, fire their arrows, and then that's it. All right, the Ottoman Spahi gonna keep charging into the Dragoons. They tried to roll to evade, but they did not evade. So, and because the Spahi are still above half strength, they're gonna roll full dice. And they are hitting on 4, so they might really do some damage here. And our Dragoons are defending on a 5, so that might not be too good. And they rolled terribly. They only got 2 defense hits, so that's not enough to inflict an additional casualty. Oh, and I actually forgot, because of the Turkish commander's trait, he can re-roll 1 missed attack dice, so we'll go ahead and do that. Yep, that's another hit, 5. So Dragoons are stamina 3, so we've got 1, 2, and because of that re-roll, that ends up being 3 casualties. So they are now down to half strength, so remove 2 models and then put down a wooden base here to represent the 1 killed in action. And then, because they're cavalrymen, they're going to have to do a follow-up, so they're just going to advance up into the same unit. I'm fudging this a little because they're getting way too close. They're definitely within 3 inches, but we're just going to go with it, and going to do the same attack. Let's see, we need 4, looking for 4s for our Turkish cavalry, so so 2 more casualties, and the Austrian cavalry, they're only going to get 6 dice to defend. I apologize as I'm doing this. I just don't like showing the room around, and it's hard for me to get a good camera angle with the way this room is set up, so I apologize. That's why some of the videos look weird, but anyway, let's keep playing. So 1 hit on a defending roll, so they lost 2 more casualties, so that brings them down to one man, and they're going to have to do a morale check. Okay, so our Austrian Dragoons are completely routed, unfortunately. But as it stands now, our Turkish commander, in trying to chase the cavalry off, has kind of left his main force isolated, and we're not sure what the Janissaries are going to do yet. And he's just kind of hanging out here, so we'll see what happens. Because we're going to have, I think we will have the Janissaries are going to activate, and I think they're going to try and just shift position a little bit. So they're going to just do maybe a move activation, and they just need They're a veteran shot is the correct term, but move, they just need a 5, and I think, let's see, they need a 6. I think they hear this engagement's going on, and I think they're just going to move 6 and kind of swing this way. And I think that's it for our Ottomans for this turn. I think I may have forgotten to try and rally the Musketeers on this turn, so I apologize while I'm playing these games if I miss things or something. Just heat of the moment, I guess. So I think that's going to put us back to our Austrians. Okay, so most of our Austrian move this turn was just getting into position, but Lieutenant von Leopold's unit, they fired another volley into the Musketeers there. The Ottomans got a negative score on their morale, and so this unit is totally routed and clears the way for the infantry to move in. So I think Lieutenant von Leopold maybe said a prayer before going to battle, but we'll see if he can keep up the success. Especially because his cavalry out there not really supported, so I'm just going to see if maybe the cavalry out there can move and just get away, and hopefully the last couple guys can live to fight another day. Okay, so mainly just a turn of movement for the Ottomans. So the Tatars are going to try and get out of dodge here with their captives and their loot. We've got our Spahi, and our Spahi commander is moving back into position. Janissaries are moving, and our Turkish regimental gun is also set to fire the next activation they get onto the line infantry. But now we're back to the Austrians, so we'll see what they can do again. So first activation right off the bat, our musketeers that were in cover behind this wall fired at the gun crew. They took out one of the gunners, and I'm gonna have to do their morale check here. Only at a -1. Yeah, so they pass. So they're just gonna stay in position. Okay, our line infantry regiment with the lieutenant just moved up. Nothing. Had to make a little room for the pikemen to get in, so hopefully they can get stuck in. Maybe clear that artillery piece. Gunners, we already did that. Went over that. And this other unit of line infantry, the lieutenant was going to try, or well, whatever. Lieutenant von Leopold was going to try and get them to advance around and maybe hook, but they'd failed their activation, so we're back to our Ottomans. Okay, Ottomans had a pretty uneventful turn. I decided to adjust my house rule on the Tatars with captives a little bit. I thought a 2-inch movement penalty was a little too light. So I decided if they've got captives, their movement's halved to 6 inches, just to represent, they've got these guys that are probably, you really don't want to be there, dragging them or have them, lashed to their saddle. They can only get up to the fence, and then maybe next turn they can try and get off. And also, to be completely honest, they would have just gotten off the table immediately, and that didn't really think that was much fun. So I'm trying to make some house rules for this kind of period and theme as I go along. So. And, if you guys are interested in this and have any suggestions, please comment. So, not much doing there. The regimental gun tried to fire into the pikemen, but they were not successful, did not activate. You need an 8 to shoot with the cannon, with cannons, which is, I think it's pretty good, pretty fair. So, back to Austrians. Okay, I think both sides are getting a little tired, as this engagement has progressed. Pikemen wanted to move up and try and get into the village, failed their activation, so nothing there, and so it's Ottomans again. Okay, so over here are Tatars. They're slowly moving off the table. These captives are really squirming. They're trying to get out. They can hear the drum and the shouts from their from the Austrian troops. However, our Janissaries were ordered to make a move. Normally, they would have gotten the +1 from being near the commander, but since he's a cavalryman, they don't want to listen, and they just kind of stalled out, and they're taking up position in front of the gun. So now, our Austrian turn again. Okay, another really short turn. Lieutenant von Leopold's troops don't think they wanted to march in the direction of the muzzle of an Ottoman gun, so they stopped, but the pikemen did manage to move up. Again, another really quick turn where nothing happened. Ottoman gun tried to load to fire. Seeing those pikes, they probably did not want to fire. They did not activate, so they rolled a 6. They needed an 8. And go and watch me film out the dice roll for this round and have something happen. 7, yep, so let's see if they can move into attack. And I think they will be able to get into attacking distance. Just move those guys. So they are going to roll to attack. Okay, so our pike had a successful attack, inflicted 2 casualties onto the gun crew, and they're reduced to 1 man. I misread the rules. Gun crews in this game are supposed to have 6 men, but all I had was 4 miniatures. I do have 2 more for it that came with it, but I didn't build them. But anyway, for today, they're just going to be a 4-man team. Now they're down to 1, the commander. So he's going to retreat. And I think for this game, I'm just going to consider that he's retreated, and the gun has been captured by the Austrian troops. So that's an eventful start to our Austrian turn, and let's see if the lieutenant can get his men into position, because those Janissaries are going to probably take up firing positions. Yep, 7, so I'm just going to advance 6. Fall in behind the pikemen, the provincial pike that are clearing the way. And then maybe these musketeers can get in as well. Yep, 6, so they're going to activate, and in pikemen's lament, when you have an obstacle, the way it works is you have to stop, and then the next round you can just move over it. And I think it reduces your movement overall, but I don't remember the fine print off the top of my head. And then we'll see if this other unit over here, here's one of my dice bags so you can see in the background as well. Okay, yep, they activate, and they're going to try and advance. Still try and maybe pull off that flanking maneuver. Okay, so I think for this video I'm gonna pause here. This will be part 1, so we can see the Austrians have made good progress getting into the town. Might not be able to save those captives, but we do have 1 unit of cavalry that I forgot to activate, so I'm going to roll for them real quick and see if they can maybe attack. They're going to be fighting at half strength. Okay, they got a 7, and they can actually activate to attack. So they're going to try and attack the Tatars. Okay, sorry, caught a little glimpse of the room. I apologize about that. Okay, let's go 10 inches. So, 2 men charging the flanks of some Tatars. They can make an evade move. Nope. Got a 4. They need a 7 to evade. So, we're going to roll our Austrian cavalrymen. Going to roll 6 because they're definitely under half strength. And they need 4s, I believe. Let me look. Attack. Gallopers. Yeah, 4s to hit. So, 1, 2, 3. And I believe Dragoons have stamina 3, so that's 1 casualty. And Dragoons defend on a 6, so... Oh, there's dice. So... But they get to roll at full strength. So, 1... Nope, only landed 1 hit, so that's not enough to break their stamina. So they're going to have to flee, and they can't flee this way. So they're going to have to fall back 3 inches. And they're going to try and go this way. Now, that allows the Galloper cavalry to make a compulsory follow-up. So they're going to do that. And they're going to attack again. And they're hitting on 4s, so... that is an additional casualty on the Crimean Tatars. Now, Tatars are going to have to make a morale test. They've lost 2 men. I don't know. I should just remove the figures. I don't know why I'm... lost 2 men. And it puts them at 4, and morale... Okay, so they failed their morale test, so they are now wavering, and they have to retreat an additional 3 inches. They've still got their captives secured in the melee somehow. Still, like I said, I'm still working out how to deal with captives because it's an important part of the warfare in this period. And I want to work it into some of the games, but I'm still figuring it out. So I think these captives are going to stick with them for now. And then now, okay, that was a pretty impressive... Oh, he needs to retreat too. That was a pretty impressive little play by our 2 remaining cavalrymen, and they're wavering. And yeah, we're coming up on 30 minutes now, so this will be part 1, and we'll pick up in part 2. And it seems like the Austrians are winning right now, but they may have a change of fortune when those Janissaries get up on the line. And we still got those cavalrymen left, so they could do something. So I hope you like this one, and I will continue the action in part 2.